Hello and welcome in. My name is Dr. Jankovic, and in the last episode of Paperhats Season 3, we did a little bit of pranking and we built this absolutely gorgeous, lush cave. If I'm honest with you, I can't believe how well this thing turned out, but we have even better things to do today, trust me. You see, we've already done so much to this base. We've made the mushroom forest behind me, we've built up some snowy peaks, built some houses, made an absolutely amazing storage system, built some Enderman shrines and a void glass pit. But we're not done yet. Next to the red mushroom forest, there's an empty field. And if you're a longtime viewer of the Dr. Jankovic channel, you probably know what this is for. This is the future site of the brown mushroom forest. It just hasn't happened yet. If you watched the last episode, this staircase probably looks familiar to you. And you'll probably know that this staircase doesn't go anywhere. I've got plans to connect it up, but that just hasn't happened yet. Based on how I titled this video, you probably know what this is about. But this down here is supposed to be a build, but it hasn't happened yet. Past the brown mushroom forest, there's a path that goes all the way to spawn, but that hasn't happened yet officially. The reason I'm pointing out all these projects to you is because this is everything we have left before my base is finished. Now, obviously, you can actually spend forever on a base, but at some point, I like to call it good, so I can move on to bigger and better things. Don't be mistaken, however, this is not the end to the season. I'm just finishing my base, getting everything tidied up so we can move on to other things. Other things meaning helping out the other paper hats with projects they have going on. I'm officially considering this a mega-sode because it is going to be such a monumentous episode, at least for me. We've got 4 projects to do at least, but there is no time to complain about it. We've got to tally up all the projects we have left to do and go ahead and start checking them off one by one. Now over here, this may look like just a random hole dug into the ground. It kind of looks, wow, that looks really weird. That's that almost doesn't look Minecrafty from the way I've dug it. But if you slowly make your way through these caves here, you eventually make your way to a lush cave, which you can go right down here, and we meet up at the staircase. It's a little bit annoying hooking up something like that through a mountain, so I went ahead and did that off camera so I could sort of, you know, get frustrated and not really have to worry about making the footage look good. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start that time lapse of widening this cave and terraforming it, texturing it, and making it look nice. You gotta love a good time lapse. I can tell you that is not the last one of the episode. There are many, many more to come. I think this tunnel turned out great for what it's supposed to be. I didn't want this to take a tremendous amount of time because let's face it, we're just gonna be flying around our base the whole time. But I decided on a block palette, I stuck with it, and it turned out really great, I think. And coming out of the exit here, it leads you right into the mushroom forest. Now, speaking about mushroom forest, this should probably be our next build. You see, this is probably the biggest project we have on our list, so let's just go ahead, bite the bullet, and deal with the most difficult one first, even though we kind of did the tunnel one first, which was honestly probably the easiest, but we're going to kick it into gear and get this mushroom forest knocked out. At one time, I had the materials for that project all laid out here, but since we moved storage systems, I just don't know where it is. Oh dear. Oh well, turns out we actually sorted it into our storage system. Yeah, there it went. We're gonna need a little bit more than that, but hey, that's awesome. We didn't lose all our blocks. Now, in order to get more mushroom blocks, we have to go to the most impressive mushroom farm ever. Oh yeah, this brings back some memories right here. By the way, this is probably the most efficient way I have found to farm these blocks. And if you'd like to know how to do this, I have actually made a tutorial. I'll try to remember to put the link down in the description. All you do is put a mushroom down, bone meal it till it gets giant, cut it down, and whatever blocks you miss on the ground, there's a minecart underneath to pick them up for you. Super intuitive. But I think I'm going to stay here for a minute, gather up a lot of mushroom blocks, and I mean a lot, just so we have more than enough, and I'll meet you back at my base. And just like that, we have all the supplies we're going to need to at least build the mushrooms. And then I think last time I did this, I got a whole bunch of dark oak saplings. And just grew up some trees, and it looked really nice, and we also mixed in with some azalea leaves. So we'll see how it goes. Let's get that time lapse rolling. Once again, I hope you enjoyed that time lapse, and we have great news. We are now done with the mushroom forest. Look at this place. Let me show you around. All right, we're going to do this the right way. We're going to go down the path here and look at those gorgeous mushrooms. This turned out exactly as I hoped. You can see the brown one first of all. You can see the red mushrooms in the distance. And walking through here, you can go up to the storage system, which I've kind of mixed in the paths here. I may do this a bit better. For now, I think that's actually a pretty good mix of blocks here. Walking down further, you can either go across the bridge over to the red mushroom forest, which we will in just a second, but I do want to focus on the brown mushroom forest first of all. Similar to the other side, we have these small mushrooms with the Enrod combo. We have some different sized mushrooms all over the place. I think I added a few more than the red side over there, and then I just filled it in with some dark oak trees. Coming over the bridge into the red mushroom forest, it's a little bit brighter over here. It's a little bit more lighthearted, and I will get to why that is in just a second. It looks great over here. I love this, and honestly, I think I like the red side a little bit better than the brown side, but there is a reason for that. If you'll notice, the main reason between the two is I have done a little bit of extra work to the dark oak trees on this side and have not done that over on the brown mushroom side. And there's actually a reason for that, kind of. Full disclosure, it did save me a lot of work not having to deal with the leaves at all. But also, I got to thinking, it's not really necessary over there. My original intentions were to have the red mushroom side very lighthearted, very happy looking, you know, sort of that. And then the brown mushroom side is a little bit darker, a little bit bleaker. Not messing with the leaves of the natural dark oak trees kind of accomplishes that, so I didn't want to mess that feeling up. So I think it's a really good contrast between the two sides here, and I'm totally happy with it. What do you guys think? And with the completion of the brown mushroom forest, that does tally off a second project we needed to get done. We only need a couple more things to go before our base is actually done. Now, let me ask you a question. When you look at this house over here, and then this chalet over here, and look at what's in between them, what could go there? If you were thinking of a bridge in between the two, we are definitely on the same wavelength for sure. And this is actually not a new idea that I've had. I've actually had a bridge kind of planned out in the creative world for quite a while. I would say over 6 months at least. I've sort of just had it in a creative world. So I'm going to load up that creative world again, see where we're at, and then, of course, for the third time this episode, let's get that time lapse rolling. And just like that, we have a bridge. I hope you enjoyed that time lapse as always. Just like I expected, I did have this design tucked away in a creative testing world. So it was super easy just to take that design and come over here and build it into Paperhats. And it looks amazing, actually. It fills out this area quite a bit. So far, we've really kept this episode pretty in order. We started over there with the tunnel and the mushroom forest. We came over here for the bridge. And then the last project, I believe, is our basement here. We need to put a build under this glass. And I've actually had this idea for the better part of a year. I just hadn't acted on it. There is no design. I think I'm just going to freehand this one. So give me just a few minutes to do some planning, resource gathering, of course. And I will meet you right back here in just a second. Okay, I am feeling pretty good. I took a trip over to the Enderman farm to repair all my tools. They're all nice and prepared. And I've got some supplies here. I've got some blackstone and deep slate, redstone, and other things to mix that red in with. I think I'm going to start by evening some of this out and then covering it all in blackstone and then starting to lay down some of the designs. And through taking a trip to the Enderman farm and getting all this prepared, I do have a few ideas that I think are going to work really well. So, without further ado, for the 4th time this episode, let's get that time lapse rolling. Alright folks, we are now done with what I call the Redstone basement. Real creative name, huh? So the original idea I had was just to have a basement filled with redstone, just pure redstone themed. And since darker blocks like blackstone and deep slate go with it really well anyways, I decided just to cover all the walls and floor in blackstone just to start off, and then I used red concrete, redstone blocks, red wool to kind of give the what should be like a big redstone vein a little bit of texture. And of course I have some actual redstone ores piled up in each of the walls here, and honestly it's simple, but I think it's really effective. I think it looks really well, and I'm proud of it. And I didn't bother to hide this redstone because I think it looks really technical, even though that's not really a technical circuit, but it looks cool regardless. But we are actually going to come back over here and talk about this pit a little bit more in just a second. I do want to mention a few things. So to be honest with you, this moment is kind of tough. You know, we've been working on this base for so long. A little over a year, I believe, and we've done so much here, and we're about to recap all of that. But the whole point of this video was to finish my base to a point where I don't have to spend much time on it anymore, so I can actually go help out the other Paperhats with projects they have to do. Now, a new season's not around the corner or anything, but it is really late in the season, and who knows, with 1.20, maybe there will be a new season, maybe not, we'll see. But it's to the point where I've spent so much time on this base, I really needed to finish it up and move on to other things and help the world feel just a little bit more complete, I guess. We've all got really cool builds, but they're not really connected with paths or anything. The gaming district needs a little bit of work, and there's some other projects around the server I can put my effort into. But let's talk about a few things. So I'm going to try not to bore you guys with a lot of details here, but I'm going to try to recollect on the things we did first. You see, early in the season, I had this idea, and I think I talked about it in just a couple of episodes and definitely on stream just a few times, but I haven't talked about it in a long time. I had completely different intentions for how this base was going to be when we started season 3. When I started fleshing things out and kind of planning and creative mode, it didn't really work out, and I wanted to go a different direction. So we built the road on top of the mountain and a few things like that, but I decided that it would be more fun if I started building projects that reminded me of the other paper hats. Kinda give each paper hat a dedication, and just so we know right off the bat, I did not have enough time to make one per paper hat, but we got a lot of them. Now, this wall here, or this cliff, I think I called it, it's got a lot of moss, it's got a lot of leaves. I tried to make it look as pretty as possible. And then, of course, we needed some nether wart for a project for Mr. Gold, so we built this chalet here. And I decided to include a lot of flowers, a lot of greenery, and things like that. This was probably the first house build I've ever really done to this scale on Minecraft, so I was really proud of it. Of course, there are a lot of improvements I would have done to the interior if I had built it today, but it turned out really nice, and I'm super proud of it. But can you guess which paper hat these two projects were kind of, air quotes, dedicated to? Well, it was actually Dakota May because, you know, because she's the flower person on the server. I think she calls herself the Azalea Princess. So, yeah, the Moss Cliff and this chalet here is sort of dedicated to her. Moving on down to her work area, on stream we built this nice little, I think I called it an axolotl grotto or something like that. We just kept a couple of axolotls in here, and Kelsey, my fiance, actually lives in a lush cave about 100 blocks away from me on this server. So this little axolotl grotto was actually dedicated to Kelsey here because she loves the axolotls and the lushness of everything. Giant diamond pile dedicated to myself, obviously. Next up, the Mushroom Forest. Now, you can probably guess who this one is. If you're familiar with the other members of the Paper Hats, you will know that this is probably dedicated to Dan the Noodle Man. And that is correct. The only thing I could think of to dedicate to him was at Mushroom Forest. So that's where the idea came from. And it was a very long project to complete, but it was also one of those things where I had never created a custom forest before, so I was really interested in learning that. And actually, the Mushroom Forest was kind of a 2-in-1 because this purple river here, Jan Cat Lady on the server loves the color purple. So this river right here, this glass purple river, was actually dedicated to her. I don't know if I ever told anybody that, but that is the truth. This river was dedicated to Jan when I built it. And of course, now we're back to the redstone basement. Now, this one was dedicated to none other than Glitch Intended Gaming. This is probably the oldest idea I had on the season for dedicating a project to someone, but it just happened now. This was absolutely intended for Glitch. He has a history of making really cool redstone tutorials on Minecraft Java, and then he spends the time to figure it out to how to make that same machine work on Bedrock. And he would make tutorials for machines that would work on both platforms, which amazing work and really cool idea. Now, like I said, we missed a few. We missed Giraffe Queen, Richie Smalls, Superboy Gamer, Siphon, and I'm sure there are others. I'm having a hard time remembering all the Paper Hats names in a list these days. We've really grown, but for now, I think I just want to show you all around this amazing base we've built on Paper Hats Season 3. Alright guys, we are officially done with the base for Season 3 of Paperhats. I do want to mention one more time that this is not the end of Season 3 by any means. This is just me completing my base so I can focus on other things around the server that are not my base, like the gaming district. There's some paths that need to be built. I have a path all the way to spawn from my base here that needs to be built. I think that's going to be more of a community thing actually, and there's some other things around the server that either I can't talk about or I can't think about at the moment, but that is what we'll be focusing on for the rest of the season as far as my videos go. Now this base will be on the Season 3 world download when the season is finally over with, and I know it is kind of a pain downloading a world and putting it in your Minecraft saves folder, but I am curious to know if somebody will try to complete this base a little bit more than I did. I can say though, this particular base was kind of an experiment a lot of times, and I've learned so many things this season about building and just making an interesting base overall. I'm going to carry all that into Season 4, and I think you guys will be surprised how far I've really come. Anyways guys, this video is getting rather long. It's well over 20 minutes at this point. And, you know, I don't really like to go past 20 minutes. It just makes too long of an episode, at least for my channel. There we go. We'll try not to fall off the edge this time. But remember to like and subscribe. It absolutely helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. I will see you for episode 21. And thank you guys so much if you've made it this far. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much.